You have been accused of genocide by South Africa in the International Court of Justice. Now, the definition, which is agreed by one and all, of genocide is a crime committed with the intent to destroy a national, ethnic, racial, or religious group in whole or in part. Now, Israel has been involved in the deliberate destruction of people's homes, the destruction of the means to provide medical care, nutrition, schooling for children, the forced migration from one area within Gaza to another. If it doesn't constitute genocide in whole, it certainly would seem, on the face of it, to constitute genocide in part.
I reject that completely. I think we've shown time and time again the amount of aid that is going into Gaza and all the time and trouble that we're taking in order to make sure that more aid goes in. We've opened another crossing. We're trying to carry out the checks as quickly as possible. We ask the UN employees to extend their working hours. We ask them to give more manpower so more aid goes in. That hasn't been done yet. So again,
but isn't this the equivalent of saying to someone, I'll tell you what, we'll light a few fires here and then we'll supply the fire brigade to put the fires we lit, to put them out.
Hamas,
isn't that exactly what Israel is doing? You destroy, you have caused people to move, they've no schooling, they've no medical care, they've no hardship, and then you say, well, we let the people in who are going to undo the damage we've done.
But not talking about Hamas and all of their strategy is just turning a blind eye and maybe just letting them off the hook. They say, again, shamelessly, that they will repeat this because their aim is to eliminate Israel, kill Israelis, kill Jewish people. We've seen them kill foreign nationals. There are still 11 of the kidnapped are foreign nationals. So we see that they are very serious in their genocidal attempts that they're sacrificing their people to do that.
So what is the end game here for Israel? I mean, what stops that? Because there are those who believe this will just generate another generation of people who will volunteer to be part of Hamas or whatever organization might succeed it. Leaders will emerge from the ranks of those who survive. That this is only a sticking plaster, that this will go on and on and on.
Well, unfortunately, that we've seen the amount of hatred and indoctrination for hatred before October 7th. We've seen this in summer camps of Hamas. We've even seen it in school books of UNRWA, that education for hatred, education for delegitimizing Israel and its existence. So unfortunately, that education has been long witnessed in Gaza and in other parts.
But do you think that the education they're getting under bombardment from Israel is going to make them like Israel?
I know that our children are growing up also, it's not even post-trauma, but in trauma, in the south of Israel, in the north of Israel, but we're not teaching them to hate. We're teaching them that eventually, we've shown this again, that we will sit down and make sure that there is a viable solution, that there is a safe future for our children. And this is what we can only hope that the people of Gaza will teach their children, but they can't go on living under the Hamas regime. And if we care about the Palestinians, then we can't let them go on living under that Hamas regime.
Do you believe, though, that leaders could emerge from the Palestinian population in Gaza who would deal with Israel in formulating some sort of agreement and who would survive the attentions of Hamas, who would not approve of any such negotiation?
Right now, what we need to deal with is bringing the kidnapped back and eliminating the threat to us in Israel and also to the Palestinians under the Hamas regime. We've seen in the past that there were different brave Palestinian leaders who were willing to negotiate and discuss. But again, right now, what we're talking about is a future outcome, and we are dealing with an imminent threat that is on our doorstep.
Now, what is going on is that imminent threat. And I was asking you, what do you see as a victory? What is mission accomplished for the IDF in Gaza at the moment? I'm trying to imagine what Israel would be satisfied with.
I don't think there is any victory, and this is a tragic war, and in general, in wars, there are no victories. But right now, we want to see the kidnapped go back home. On Thursday, we'll be celebrating the first birthday of Kfir. And we've all seen his photo. I'm sure that's the listeners here also know the pictures of the two redhead babies that were kidnapped. Kfir, which was kidnapped when he was 9 months, will be 1 year on Thursday. We want to see him and his family back. We want to make sure that our rockets are not fired at Israel every day. And even today, this morning, before coming here, there were rockets fired at Israel. We need that to stop.
But this is the difficulty I have. You've got a lovely baby there coming up to her first birthday who's held hostage. But how many babies of 1 year or less are being killed by IDF ordnance? I mean, why is one Israeli baby's life, a hostage, worth more than 1,000 Palestinian babies?
No baby should die. And every death is a tragedy, not just for the baby, but the whole family, for the whole country. We know that. And this is why we ask to hold Hamas accountable. There are reasons that they're hiding like this as cowards behind their population, because they know that Israel will be criticized for it. But we need to make sure that our population is safe, not just the kidnapped in Gaza, but the people in Israel.
So what does that victory look like? Or, sorry, that point in time, it won't be a victory for anybody, I suspect, and we'll talk about how Israel might be regarded in the international community after this particular war. What does it look like? What does mission accomplished look like?
Bringing all of them back, bringing the 136 kidnapped who are still held in Gaza. Some of them we know that are not alive and are just held as a very cynical game by Hamas.
But if you take this logic, if we get 120 hostages back, that means that Hamas have no leverage anymore with the lives of those hostages, which means that the IDF could go after them without fearing what Hamas are charging you with, which is killing some of your own people.
We are still obligated to international law, and we still operate under the rules of war. So that will continue because we are legally bound by it, and we hold it also not just legally, but morally.
It may be many years before the International Court of Justice hands down any kind of a ruling on this. If it is, yes, Israel is guilty in whole or in part of genocide, it means people will be held to account. And I suppose we could expect to see Benjamin Netanyahu arraigned before the International Criminal Court.
That's a very hypothetical
It is hypothetical,
scenario.
but isn't that the logical follow-on if the International Court of Justice was to find Israel guilty?
I cannot find any logic in a court finding Israel guilty for defending itself and not holding Hamas accountable for what they're bluntly say that they're doing. They said what they will do. They carried out what they're doing, and they said that they will repeat it. So we need to hold them accountable for that.